Here are the three reasons why Trump actually won the US 24 election. Number one is the border control immigration policy. Under Biden and Kamala administration, they've let in more than at least 10 million illegal immigrants through the southern border. Some estimates say that's at 20 million over the 4 years from 2020. This is obviously a huge threat to any country that has an open border, because the issue that they're having is that when they catch the illegal immigrants, they're actually releasing them in the US. Yes, actually releasing them in the US. And I spoke to a number of border control agents on this matter, and they're actually doing that. And there's two issues with this. Number one, there's actually an immediate threat of who's actually coming in and being released in the US. If you're the enemy of the US, this is a great opportunity to send your best and worst to infiltrate the country. And number two, looking at a medium to long term vision, those illegal immigrants are being fast tracked to citizenship, which means they will be likely to be very heavily influenced towards voting Democrats in future elections. And there are a lot of analysts saying that they're actually transporting those illegal immigrants into swing states, which means they won't be any swing states anymore if those people in the millions are coming in that will be voting for Democrats in the future. And so this, in the future, it will be very hard for any other party to win other than the Democratic Party. So people see that as a huge threat. Number two is foreign policy. There has been no leadership from the Biden and Kamala administration in the world stage. There has been lots of war. Everyone is doing whatever they want, and people are not happy that the U.S. has printed $64 billion in just over 2 years to give to Ukraine in military aid, and think that that money should be spent internally on the domestic economy and domestic issues, rather than funding foreign conflicts. And Trump is relatively anti-war. And so the neoconservatives and the people that in the military complex don't want Trump to win, because he's going to reduce conflict relative to what Biden is doing. And the last one is the biggest one, which when you speak to people, they bring this up all the time, which is they believe that there is a threat to democracy and freedom of speech. This became very evident when the Trump-Biden debate happened, which showed that the media was actually lying to everyone about how sharp and smart Biden is, because clearly he wasn't. It was very evident in the debate that happened. And so people start to mistrust the media. And so the media, being just an arm of the Democratic Party, and when you add the Twitter files that were released by Elon that showed the government agencies were asking Twitter and other social media companies to censor information. They were asking them to remove information or accounts sharing those information, which they perceived as false, when in fact it was actually true. They were factual information, but they were damaging to the Democratic Party. And that kind of censorship goes against the freedom of speech. It's actually limiting people's ability to share factual information, which obviously influences people's decisions. People base their decisions on the facts that are being presented to them. And if the government is involved in showcasing certain information and censoring other information, then that's obviously a threat to democracy. And so people are really mistrusting established media and government agencies, and they've moved more towards alternative media. And alternative media like podcasts and social platforms like X, you're getting to see more long form videos of Trump and Vance actually speaking uninterrupted. And so you see their full personality instead of the 2-minute clip that is cut in a certain way to fit a certain narrative that's released by a lot of the established media. And so people for the first time are actually seeing what Trump is all about, and they're aligned to that vision. They see a human being speaking normally without the usual conversation you get from politics or from Kamala that isn't, she says a lot, but there's nothing there that's being said, really. One of the silly things that the Democratic Party did was liken Trump to Hitler by saying he made some certain sentences that is close to what Hitler said, or he carried out a rally in Madison Square Gardens, which is where free Nazi rally happened in 1939. It's just so silly because so many presidential rallies happened in Madison Square Gardens. It's a big place. A lot of concerts happen in Madison Square Gardens. So it's, you're not going to say that everyone that did a rally there is a Nazi supporter. And plus, we've had, people have had 4 years of Trump. The reason why Hitler was bad was because he invaded a lot of countries. He killed millions of people. And obviously Trump did not do that. So there is that experience of Trump is not like Hitler during his 4 years of presidency in 2016. So the more people kind of push that narrative, the more silly it looks, and the more people, it looks like people are just desperate to try to brush Trump in a very negative way, especially when they cut clips to make it sound that he's saying something that he's not really saying. And Trump is not the most savvy when it comes to how he says things. He says things how it is, and so it's very easily misinterpreted in a way that goes against maybe certain creeds or certain ethnicities, races, which is not the case when you see, for example, what he says on those 2-hour-long podcasts. That's the reason. And I think the biggest question for a lot of people after the debate was, who the hell is in charge of the US government if Biden isn't there at all? And why did the Democrats and the media lie the whole time? That created huge mistrust, which is very difficult to recover from.